Global crime syndicates move billions every year, and their entire operation relies on hyper-secure, untraceable digital networks. To communicate, cartels and gangs use highly modified, heavily encrypted smartphones. These devices are intentionally stripped of standard consumer features, meaning no GPS tracking and no cameras, guaranteeing privacy for whoever holds them. Their ultimate defense is a remote wipe command known as a kill switch. If the police ever seize one of these phones, a single remote signal destroys all the data instantly, rendering the device useless as evidence. When law enforcement dismantled major encrypted networks like Phantom Secure and Encrypted, they wiped out the underworld's primary communication lines. This takedown created an immediate power vacuum, leaving a paranoid criminal elite desperate for a new way to talk. In 2018, a technology distributor known as AFU, who had previously sold encrypted phones to criminals, approached the FBI with a proposal to exploit this exact gap in the market. Instead of spending years trying to hack from the outside, AFU suggested the authorities engineer and launch the next major encrypted network themselves. The result was ANOM, a fully functional, premium encrypted smartphone company secretly operated entirely by law enforcement. To pull this off, the FBI had to construct an intricate 4-layer digital trap. They needed to convince the world's most cautious criminals to pay thousands of dollars for the privilege of surveilling themselves. The trap began with the physical hardware. ANOM devices were built using standard, off-the-shelf Google Pixel phones, disguising the surveillance tool as an everyday piece of consumer technology. Inside the phone ran a custom operating system called Arcane OS. At first glance, it displayed familiar apps like Spotify, Netflix, and Tinder, but tapping on these icons did absolutely nothing. They were non-functional dummies. The only way to bypass this facade was opening the ordinary calculator app and entering a specific PIN. This sequence dropped the disguise, revealing the device's true core, the ANOM messaging interface. By combining a hardware disguise with elaborate software misdirection, the authorities gave their targets false confidence, effectively masking the surveillance engine running underneath. Operating this network presented a severe legal roadblock. Domestic surveillance laws strictly prohibit the FBI from intercepting communications inside the United States without highly targeted individual warrants. To bypass this, developers engineered a hidden backdoor directly into the network architecture. Whenever an ANOM user sent a message, a hidden protocol silently duplicated that data and diverted a copy to a third location controlled by the police. To sidestep US and Australian legal restrictions on hosting intercepted data, the FBI found a willing international partner. They set up the central master server in Lithuania. This international routing loophole transformed ANOM from a localized sting operation into a global surveillance dragnet. Even a complex technical trap is useless without users. Paranoid crime syndicates would never trust a device pushed by strangers, so the FBI relied on underworld influencers to sell the product. They manipulated top-tier targets into distributing the hardware. High-profile figures like Hakan Ayek actively pushed ANOM to their networks, offering assurances that the company's founder was actually on the run from the FBI. By weaponizing the criminal underworld's own word-of-mouth networks, the authorities successfully turned global cartel bosses into an effective sales team. By 2021, the operation became too successful for its own good. Over 12,000 active users were generating millions of messages detailing drug shipments, money laundering operations, and live assassination plots, overwhelming the agents tasked with reading them. With human lives in immediate danger and the Lithuanian server agreement approaching its expiration date, the FBI was forced to pull the plug. In a synchronized global takedown known as Operation Trojan Shield, law enforcement agencies across 16 countries executed simultaneous, heavily armed raids, resulting in the arrest of over 800 suspects. The physical haul was significant. Authorities seized nearly 40 tons of illegal drugs, stockpiles of weapons, and millions of dollars in illicit cash and cryptocurrency from major syndicates. By the numbers alone, Operation Trojan Shield was a massive disruption to organized crime, dismantling networks across dozens of countries in a single stroke. But as the dust settled, defense attorneys worldwide began to dissect the operation, launching a coordinated attack against the legal foundation of the entire sting. Courts are now grappling with a massive dilemma, deciding whether the intercepted chat logs are entirely inadmissible. The defense argues this evidence was obtained through indiscriminate mass surveillance, rather than through individual, targeted search warrants. A precedent is already taking shape in Germany. Regional courts have begun tossing out ANOM chat evidence in drug trafficking trials, ruling that the digital messages could not be physically linked to the suspects in the courtroom. Which leaves us with an uncomfortable question. If an operation's technical success comes at the cost of constitutional due process, potentially allowing clearly guilty syndicate bosses to walk free, was it a victory or a cautionary tale about modern policing?